This is the day 10 video for Tuesday, April 7th. We're going to be working on the half angle identities today, so you may want to pause this and get these identities down in your notes, but you'll notice that they have a plus or minus. You have to make a decision whether the cosine, sine, or tangent is the positive or negative, depending upon where that angle is. Of course, over here, the tangent has three choices. These two choices, it will either be positive or negative. If you use the first one, it will you'll have to determine it. Okay, sorry about that little jumping around. I had a little problem, and instead of redoing the whole thing, I just got back to here. So this is our problem. I'll go through it. I think you saw the solutions. We want to find the exact value of the sine of x divided by 2 and the tangent of x divided by 2. I'm also given the fact over here that the tangent of x is 8 divided by 15, and that x is somewhere between pi and 3 pi over 2. So basically that tells me that I'm down here in the third quadrant. So the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So this is 8 and this is 15, but more than that, they are both negative, making the tangent positive. Finding the r here by Pythagorean theorem, the radius squared is equal to negative 15 squared plus negative 8 squared. And if you do the math on that, it is a Pythagorean triplet. You'll find out the r is equal to 17. Okay. Now we're going to find the sine of x over 2 and the tangent of x over 2. We could also find the cosine, but I figured 2 was enough. If my angle is down here in the third quadrant, somewhere between 180 and 270, and I'm finding half of that angle, half of 180 is going to be at 90. Half of 270 is over here at 135. So my angle that I'm finding, x divided by 2, is over here in the second quadrant. And the sine of an angle in the second quadrant is positive. The cosine is negative, and that makes the tangent also negative. So we had to decide which one is going to be the proper sign. So the first identity I'm going to use is a sine of x divided by 2, which is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of x divided by 2. And I know that I'm going to be positive, so that's the one I'm going to use. So I can drop the negative at this point. The square root of 1 minus the cosine. Cosine's the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so that's going to be a negative 15 over 17. And I'm going to divide that by 2. So that's going to be the square root of now 1, which is going to be 17 over 17, plus 15 over 17, or 32 divided by 17. Divided by 2 or times a half. So the 2 is going to go into there 16 times. So I've got the square root of 16, or 4, all over the square root of 17. We need to rationalize that. So it's square root of 17 over the square root of 17, which is 4 square root of 17 all over 17. Okay, moving on to the tangent. I've got three choices. If you choose the first one, you have to know the tangent's negative. But I'm going to go ahead and just use the middle one. And the middle one was 1 minus the cosine of x divided by the sine of x. So 1 minus the cosine of x, just like on the other one, that's going to be a negative 15 over 17. And that's going to be divided by the sine of x, which is negative 8 over 17. Again, I'm going to add 17 over 17 plus 15 over 17, or get 32 over 17. And instead of dividing by negative 8 17s, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, negative 17 over 8. And that will give me then the 8 cancels into the 32 4 times. The 17s will cancel, but the negative doesn't cancel. So it's negative times 4, which is negative 4. And that's exactly what it should have been, negative. All right, I think that's going to be enough. I'm not going to make you do any identities with these guys. Not that they're any more difficult than the other ones. They're just I don't think we need to. We've already done enough, and we can do some more later. I think this will be enough for you. So check Google Classroom out for your homework, and don't forget to ask me questions. All right, guys. Thanks.